Hi, I'm Dan Madigan, sports editor at the Daily Campus, joined with Matt Kren over here, beat writer covering the women's basketball team, coming at you on Tuesday, a day after UConn's second round victory over Syracuse. They advanced to their 24th straight Sweet 16 in the Bridgeport Regional. In preparation of that, Kren and I are going to go through and give you a breakdown of the entire Sweet 16, starting with the Lexington region, working our way to the Huskies region of Bridgeport. So we'll get right into it with the number 1 seed Notre Dame's matchup with number 5 Ohio State. Ohio State's got a dangerous team, backcourt of Kelsey Mitchell and Shayla Cooper. Mitchell can really light it up, scored over 20 points against the Huskies this year, averaging 22 points a game, coming off a 21-point performance in their second round victory. Notre Dame, a very talented team in their own right, but they're a little bit kind of bitten by the injury bug right now. Brianna Turner, their star player, leading scorer and rebounder, just went down with a torn ACL in the second round victory. Despite this, the tandem of Arike Ogunbowale and Marina Mabry are probably going to be too much for Ohio State to handle. Mitchell and Cooper are great scorers, but they're not going to be able to play enough defense to kind of keep up with Notre Dame's all-around skill. So with that, I like Notre Dame advancing to the Elite Eight. Kren, any thoughts?
To add into that, as you said before, Brianna Turner out, where they can get the 15 points and 7 rebounds per game. I think the player to look into is Christina Nelson. Right now she averages 11.6 minutes per game and only 3 rebounds. She's going to have a much bigger workload, and I think that she'll fit in with Mabry, and I think that the Notre Dame will get the win as well.
We'll hop into the nightcap here. Number 2 Stanford against number 3 Texas. Texas done a pretty good job getting over the loss of Amani Boyette, who was a lottery pick in the WNBA draft. Now they have a backcourt of Brooke McCarty and Ariel Atkins that has done a pretty good job so far this season. The Cardinal have some talented scorers in their own right with Erica McCall and Katie Lou Samuelson's sister Carly Samuelson. Carly's actually probably statistically the better shooter out of the two. She's shooting 48% from deep, which is pretty impressive. And this is kind of similar to the Notre Dame game. Both teams are talented, but I like Stanford's chances to advance simply because they have a better coach, a deeper team, and a more well-rounded team.
A couple things to add in as well. Stanford has the 16th best scoring defense out of the people left, and they're 7-0 on a neutral court, so I think those two factors really help Stanford also win as well. We're back at it in the second region here. We got the Stockton region. Our first matchup on Saturday is number 1 South Carolina versus number 12 Quinnipiac. Upset alert? Don't think so. Cinderella's midnight run is going to be over. Quinnipiac's a very good team. They got 44 assists in 2 games and led by Jen Fay, who averages 10.6 points per game. But even with Alicia Gray maybe being out and Coates definitely being out, South Carolina has the second or third best player in all women's basketball, Asia Wilson. In the first 2 games of the tournament, she has 39 points, shooting 56% from the field. And she's 6'5" as well. Quinnipiac has one player 6'4", but she's reserved, only plays about 8 minutes per game. Due to the size of South Carolina, I think they're going to be too big to handle. I think South Carolina wins this one.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. The loss of Coates, the loss of Gray definitely hurt South Carolina's title chances. But going up against an undersized team like Quinnipiac, Asia Wilson is more than good enough to carry this team on her own. Quinnipiac's had a good run. They've taken care of some good teams. They've stuck around and kind of been able to keep on pushing through. But it's going to be too much for them to deal with South Carolina, Asia Wilson, and the rest of the South Carolina team.
Going to the second matchup, also on Saturday at 6 o'clock, we got Oregon State versus number 3 Florida State. Number 2 Oregon State in the first matchup almost got upset at the Long Beach State. They won by only 1 point and they looked a little shaky at times. In the second game, they bounced back nicely against Creighton, winning by 12. In that game, senior Sydney Weiss had 13 points. And the only issue for Oregon State, though, is scoring. You got to score to win, and they only average 66 points per game. So for that reason, I'm going to take Florida State in this matchup. They're led by Shakayla Thomas, who in the first 2 games had 43 points and 25 rebounds. She's to be too big to handle, and I think Florida State heads back to the Elite Eight for the second time in 3 years.
Yeah, Florida State's a great team. Something that we saw early on in the year when they were the closest team that's come to beating UConn in this 109-game streak. They lost by 2 on the first game of the season. So Oregon State's a good team in their own right. Made it to the Final Four last season, but Florida State's just too talented, a little bit too much. Seminoles are going to get the edge into the Elite Eight. All right, get right into the next region here in Oklahoma City. Number 1 Baylor taking on number 4 Louisville. Jeff Waltz has another good Louisville team on his hands, led by Asia Durr. She's averaging 19.2 points a game, shooting 40% from deep. Maria Moore didn't really do too much the regular season, just had a 19-point game to lead them over number 5 Tennessee. The Cardinals are hot, but Baylor is just simply too good, coming off a monstrous win in the first round. Another just resounding win in the second round. The size in the post for the Bears between Kalani Brown, Beatrice Montpremier, and freshman Lauren Cox, who her numbers, she hasn't really shown that much this season, but I think she could really be an X factor for this team going forward. She's one of the top recruits in the country this past year. She could be a really dangerous player, could really add a whole new dimension to that Bears offense. Because of that, I'm going to go with Kim Mulkey and the Baylor Bears to advance to the Elite Eight for this round.
I think it's going to be a closer game than most people expect. Last game versus Tennessee, Louisville held them to 33.3% shooting from the field. But the two big things to remember is Baylor's the number 2 scoring offense in all college basketball, and they're also the number 12 scoring defense. For that reason and their size, I think Baylor's going to also be winning the game.
Next up, first game in the Oklahoma City Regional. Got number 2 Mississippi State against number 3 Washington. If you're going to watch one other game besides the UConn game this Saturday, would you agree that Mississippi State-Washington is the one to watch?
Kelsey Plum.
Yep. Kelsey Plum, in case you don't know, the greatest scorer in the history of women's college basketball. She just broke the all-time scoring record for women's basketball and the single-season record, both of which were set by Jackie Stiles a few years back. Plum shattered those. She's still kicking. Another fun player watching this Washington team is Chantel Oshahor. A great rebounder, one of the best in the country. Does a little bit of everything, shoots some set shot 3-pointers. She's not afraid to shoot it from anywhere. Between her and Plum, this team is very, very dangerous. Sleeper team for sure. Definitely a little bit underseeded in my opinion. Mississippi State is a good team. They're a little bit better than last year's team that people forget that they lost 98-38 to UConn in the Elite Eight in Bridgeport last year. They're better than that. They were last year, they are this year, but Washington and Oshahor are just going to be too much, and I like the Huskies to advance into this round, into the Elite Eight.
The thing for this game is going to be, where does the final score end? Because if Washington can get the game over 80 points, I think they win in a landslide. But if Mississippi State can keep the scoring down, maybe in the 70s, they're going to have a shot. On the season, they have a scoring differential of 20.2 points, and they average about 19.8 turnovers against opponents. So those are both two good numbers for Mississippi State. But I think in the end, Washington behind Kelsey Plum is going to blow the doors off of Mississippi State. I think it's going to be another resounding win for Plum and the Huskies. For our final region, we got the Bridgeport region. We got number 1 UConn versus number 4 UCLA on Saturday, 1:30 p.m.
Are we doing the man or?
Dude, the season's over. Just go home.
Talk about it later.
Ready for the number 1 UConn Huskies. They had the chance to win 110 games in a row, which would break one of the all-time great streaks of the Penn State volleyball team, who's won 109 in a row. So big things to look at is, can UConn keep their hot offense going? Kia Nurse has 15 3-pointers in the last 2 games. And Nafisa Collier, Gabby Williams, and Katie Lou Samuelson have all playing really good basketball. For UCLA, they're not a bad team. They just don't stack up talent-wise compared to UConn. Their best player, junior Jordan Canada, has 27 assists and 27 points in the first 2 games. And Carrie Corver had 7 3-pointers in the last game, while the team shot 56.6% from the field. But ultimately, it's another home game for the Huskies. I think there's going to be too big, too strong, too physical for UCLA.
You're absolutely right, Kren. It's just nothing against UCLA, but this team is just too talented. They're clicking at the right time right now. Nurse was simply phenomenal on Monday night. I expect Samuelson and Collier to kind of keep doing what they've been doing, and the same from Williams. It'll be interesting to see how Sanaya Chong and Crystal Dangerfield play. Both of them had a ton of assists on Monday, but they didn't really do anything on the scoring side of the ball. So it'll be interesting to see if they get involved on offense. But all in all, there's a very good chance that UConn advances to the Elite Eight and faces the winner of Maryland and Oregon.
So for the Maryland-Oregon game, starts at 11:36 a.m. on Saturday. Nice early start time for Oregon from the West Coast. One of 5 Pac-12 teams in this region. Second in this region, 5th in the Sweet 16. So a big thing to look at is Oregon. Where do they come from? They got a lot of freshmen on their team. One of their best players, Ruthie Hedberg, last game had 20 points and 15 rebounds as they beat Duke, and they forced 13.8 turnovers per game. So I think that's a big thing to look for Oregon. And for Maryland, I mean, they've just been lights out lately. They've been shooting 55.5% in the first 2 games of the tournament, and led by Brianna Jones, who had 22 and 11 last game, and Shatori Walker Kimbrough, who had 19 points to win versus West Virginia. So for that reason, I think Maryland's going to end another Cinderella's hopes and go on to play UConn next week.
Yeah, the Terrapins are probably the most underrated team in the men's or women's NCAA tournament. A 3 seed is ridiculous. They're probably one of the top 5-6 teams in the country. They'll probably strut their stuff in that matchup with UConn, but this matchup with the Ducks is no joke. If you're a big fan of guard play, Destiny Slocum of Maryland versus Sabrina Ionescu on Oregon. 2 of the best freshman point guards in the country going head to head. Slocum can light it up, can shoot from pretty much anywhere. Almost single-handedly pulled the Terrapins to a victory over the Huskies when they played earlier this year. Ionescu leads the country in triple-doubles as a freshman. A big part of that Oregon offense, one of the many talented freshmen that the Ducks have. So it'll be interesting to see this game. I think Maryland and Oregon can really give each other a good game, but like Kren said, I think the Terps advance here. Big matchup for UConn against Maryland in the Elite Eight.
All right, thanks for staying with us. We just had our Sweet 16 picks. Just to recap, with Stockton, we had the number 1 South Carolina Gamecocks defeating the number 12 Quinnipiac Bobcats, and number 3 Florida State defeating number 2 Oregon State. If results hold, this will set up a rematch of the Elite Eight in 2015 when South Carolina defeated Florida State to move on to their first Final Four in program history. In the latter region, in Bridgeport, we have the number 1 UConn Huskies easily defeating number 4 UCLA Bruins, and the number 3 Maryland Terrapins defeating the number 10 Oregon Ducks. This would set up a rematch of the December 29th meeting between UConn and Maryland, in which UConn won by a score of 87-81 at Maryland. Dan, what do we got in the other 2?
All right, we got Notre Dame over Ohio State and Stanford over Texas in the Lexington region. Then we have Baylor over Louisville and Washington over Mississippi State in the Oklahoma City region. We'll be back in action with our Elite Eight picks Sunday night, but for now, be sure to follow us for updates at DC Sports Depth on Twitter. Be sure to listen to our podcast after the UConn game, the Beyond the Arc podcast. It'll be on live on our Twitter feed, also on the app Bumpers, if any of you had that. So, to wrap things up, our Sweet 16 picks are locked in. I'm Dan Madigan.
I'm Matt Kren.
That'll do it. We'll see you on Sunday night.